Hi, and welcome back to The Secret Life of Parkinson's. I'm Jessica Krauser, and I'm very excited to be back with Brian Baker.
Yay!
You're back!
I'm back.
From your DBS clinical trial stuff, whatever.
Research.
Yes, but aside from DBS, we get to learn about something else today.
Something else?
Yes, there is something else out there. And we have a special guest with us, Mark Whitman. Hi, Mark.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Coming to us from Maryland. But Mark is going to talk to us today about focused ultrasound, or FUS. Mark actually reached out to us via just from the podcast and watching Brian's story and Roz and all of our discussions about DBS, and he pointed out that we have not touched on focused ultrasound, which we have not. And Mark has gone through a clinical trial, even though it is FDA approved to do the one side, but he's part of a clinical trial that did the bilateral focused ultrasound. So again, Mark, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So before we get into the focused ultrasound, tell us about yourself, about your Parkinson's diagnosis journey.
Sure. I was diagnosed in 2009, so I'm with young-onset Parkinson's. It's been quite a few years. I'm 60 years old today. Not today, but I'm 60.
It's my birthday today.
Yes.
So you were diagnosed 2009.
Yes, and I progressed. My symptoms weren't too bad for many years, but in 2021, I guess it was, exercise has been a big part of my medication, if you will, what I do. And I had a carcinoma removed from my leg, and at the time I couldn't exercise, so my symptoms got worse, significantly worse, and it was time that I had to do something. And my wife and I had, the year before, we had decided to change neurologists at the time because with COVID and things that were going on with that, it was difficult to get an appointment with my neurologist, and we really liked her. But it was a time that we've always tried to stay with someone who's on the cutting edge. And so we made the decision to make a move, and I prayed about it and thought, what should I do? Who should I go see? And I did a search, and I found out about focused ultrasound at that point. And Dr. Fishman at the University of Maryland was the doctor that I found that could accept me, and that's how it started.
Wow. So was he happy with where you were on medication, or was he the one that brought it up, or were you interested in something different?
No, I brought it up. He was okay with, my medication. I was taking Rytari and Selegiline at the time, and still do. But like I said, I was dealing with this other issue with the carcinoma on my leg, and I had that removed. And it just really, it inhibited me from being able to exercise like I had been. So I knew I had to do something because my symptoms had gotten worse. And that's when we talked about DBS and focused ultrasound, and I just decided that, DBS is the gold standard, if you will. I mean, that's, that doesn't change. Focused ultrasound is a good alternative. I believe in, at the time, I really didn't feel like I wanted wires coming down in my brain, and wasn't excited about having a pacemaker put in my chest. And so he said, which way do you want to go? And I decided right away to go with focused ultrasound. And that was right before Thanksgiving of 2021. And I came home and that day, and I think it was the next day, they contacted me, and one of the managers of the clinical trial contacted me, and I get started with preparing to participate in the trial.
So what is focused ultrasound for those that don't know what the procedure is?
Actually, it's MRI-guided focused ultrasound, and they use the analogy of if you're burning a leaf on a sidewalk, you take a magnifying glass. The sunlight streams down through the magnifying glass and burns the leaf. So that's using that analogy, I guess, or that example. That's how it works. They use the focused ultrasound and they shave your head. My hair hasn't come back near as good as Brian has, but they put a halo of some sorts on your head, and they screw that into your head or to hold it in place, and then you're bolted onto the table, I guess, that fits into the MRI. And then they target a certain area, and they do one side at a time. My first side was done January 5th, 2022. And that was somewhat of an ordeal. I'll be upfront with you. It took 6 hours to do the first side, which was a little longer than normal, but it was because of my blood pressure was kind of up and kind of varied a good bit, and took a while to get it done, but it was I was awake through the whole thing. And
so
the second side.
Sorry. So are they like? I'm using the burning analogy, and I know it's probably a little bit extreme, but are they doing that for 6 hours?
Well, it's the sonication, and they target an area of your brain. They have a certain area that they're targeting. They use the MRI to target, and then they'll alert you that, hey, we're going to do a sonication, and they're really numbing your target area in your brain.
Okay.
And so they're targeting that and then they zap you or hit you with the sonication, and then they wheel you out and they'll tell you, hey, they test the results of that area.
So you kind of go back and forth.
Exactly.
Does it hurt?
No, it doesn't hurt, but it's hot. You can feel the heat. And they also warned me. I'm curious, Brian, if you noticed this with the DBS, but they when they sonicate you, you get the feeling that, and they told me to expect this, that you're doing backflips. So I kind of envisioned myself doing a backflip in my brain. That's odd to say that, but it was a perfect, and they told me to expect it because I think it's next to an area of your brain that deals with your equilibrium and becoming dizzy and that sort of thing. So
I didn't have any. I didn't experience any of that.
Yeah, it was
like it made you. Did it make you like nauseous because it was like that type of thing?
It could, but I did not. I did not get nauseous, but yes, I think some people do.
And then so you waited. So you did the first side, and then they didn't do the second side right away.
And that's correct. They waited 6 months, and they do that because the clinical trials for the safety and efficacy of the procedure, and I guess they through testing they understand that they take 6 months to really make sure that you're going to be, it'll be safe to do the second side.
So they want to make sure it's safe to do the second side.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you have, like with Parkinson or with DBS, the first time I did it, I had like what they call the honeymoon stage, where it was about a week where I had like no symptoms. Did you have that same thing?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What was your biggest symptom? Like, what did you see immediately go away?
Well, I was tremor dominant for Parkinson's, and I also had dyskinesia was very prominent for me. I had a lot of dyskinesia, and it's like a second chance. It's really, I'm very pleased with the outcome. I was with a friend of mine having breakfast. This is several months ago, and we were talking. And I said, it's like when I used to have Parkinson's. There are days that I go by that I don't even think about having Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
And that's life. It's been life changing for me.
How long does it last?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that because it's new. There's people who had just one side, the bilateral is new, but I don't know. I think my expectation is similar to what I've heard about DBS, which is about 5 years or longer, hopefully. I've also heard from clinics that does DBS and focused ultrasound for essential tremor they're not doing DBS for essential tremor anymore. They're only using focused ultrasound because they've seen it lasting much longer using focused ultrasound. The results have been longer.
Is focused? Well, actually, that's a good question for you too, Brian. So, what is DBS? What did they say DBS is for? Like, is it for more so like with tremor or dystonia or like whatever? Did they say anything?
I think with the DBS, my understanding is that they target different parts of the brain as far as contact points for the electroid.
Yeah.
And then
depending on what your symptoms are.
And then what about the focused ultrasound? Is there a specific symptom then? Is it or is it tremor dominant?
Tremor dominant, okay. Yeah, that's my understanding, as well as the dyskinesia has been a big issue.
Now, part of the thing that went into my decision was the focused ultrasound is not reversible, correct? So once it's done, it's done.
That's correct, but because it's something that as I said, they start out, they don't crank up the heat right away. They start slow, and it's nothing. They talk about there's nothing that they can, because they start at such a low, heat level. That's my term. That it's very safe that way. They just they creep it up until they're sure they get the right spot. Then they do a sonication that's they're creating the ablation of the cells in the brain.
So I know somebody that I used to box with. He's in Ohio, and he had just, I think, the one side done. And I want to say he was actually like in a wheelchair and he's young. He was only in his 50s or 60s, but I think it was so hard for him to walk that he was either using a walker or in a wheelchair, and he had focused ultrasound done, and he like walked out that day. It was like a miracle.
Wow.
And I believe he said now he did a couple years later, he did get DBS. So can you have focused ultrasound and then do DBS?
Yes, but you can't do it the other way.
Right. So you can't, so you're screwed. You can't. So Brian can't get the focused ultrasound now because he had DBS, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Interesting. So how was the second time around?
Much shorter, but to be quite honest, I feel like the first side, which was my right side, my brain left side of my body, it's opposite, as you know. I felt the first side the results are better than the second side. And I don't know why that is. But it just seems like I still have a slight tremor on my right side, but it's not near what it was. So I'm just really thrilled with
So what activities were you like most excited to get back to doing, or doing something that you haven't done in a while because tremors were hindering?
Well, I didn't know it at the time, but my son and I my son's grown now, and he played college baseball, but through all of his life as a youngster, we would watch Field of Dreams before opening day of baseball, and then we'd go out and have a catch. And I could throw the baseball. I didn't notice it right away, but the years have gone by. I couldn't throw the baseball or catch a baseball like I one time could. And after the first procedure, I picked up the baseball and I threw it, and it was very normal to me, like I was again. So that was really cool. So that's one thing that really I wasn't even expecting it. Dr. Fishman, my neurologist, said, that makes a lot of sense because that's what Parkinson's is. The way that your muscle activity is connected together.
Mm-hmm.
It made throwing a baseball and catching a baseball very easy. And we just did our we watched a movie and it had our catch last Saturday for this year's baseball season. So
that's awesome.
It was good. It's been really a neat blessing for me. But I think of things. I'd like to go skiing again. I used to ski a lot,
Yeah.
and I haven't skied. I didn't ski this year. I don't know if I'll get to that or not, but I wouldn't mind trying that again because that was a big part of what I did. So.
That's great. So what do you recommend for people out there? Because I actually have, you guys probably hear me talk about it a lot, but I have a group of young onset women that I talk to, and they're actually, they're all over the United States. And one of them brought it up actually earlier this week. And I'm like, funny you asked that. I'm interviewing somebody about it. So, for those that might be interested, what can you tell them or where can you point them to maybe for them to learn more?
Well, first I'd go to the Focused Ultrasound organization or foundation at FUS.org or the University of Maryland. I don't work for University of Maryland, but man, they have done a great job, and they were such a great team to work with. Mm-hmm. I just really, Dr. Eisenberg was the surgeon who did it. 85 years old, I believe. Yes, did the surgery.
Wow. This was awesome. I'm so glad that you reached out to us.
Yeah, it's great because it's not one thing doesn't work for everybody.
No,
so this
right.
is great.
Yeah, it's an alternative to what you've done, and I've met with some people who've had DBS, and they're very excited about the results. Brian, you look very, very comfortable from. You've done DBS now, and I guess you've had it turned on. Correct? Am I correct there?
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yes.
You've had it on for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, and you no longer have that not DBS, Parkinson's fog, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, the fog, the brain fog kind of went away right away.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you? Like you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I didn't.
The other thing I did, the weekend after my first flight, I went out for sushi and used chopsticks to eat sushi, which was
nice,
fun to do, And I sent a video to the surgeon and to the doctors and said, "Hey, you guys, thanks a lot."
That's great.
They've done a great job.
My last question for you is, with DBS, they started saying, it shouldn't be looked at as a last resort, kind of get ahead of it type deal. Is that the same thing with focused ultrasound? Like if you get it earlier, is it better, or should you wait until you're more symptomatic?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I've heard that question asked about DBS. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't think it would hurt at all to get it done early, but I don't know.
Okay, we'll have to check into that.
Yeah.
This was great, Mark. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you reaching out to us. I think it's a huge testament of patients. We like to learn from other patients. So, anybody else out there who has a story or wants to educate us about something, please let us know. So again, Mark, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's a little bit of hope that patients who have Parkinson's they can experience DBS or focused ultrasound. It really is. There are days that I don't even think about having Parkinson's, which is crazy to think that after, dealing with it for many years like you all have. And it's
great.
It's a second chance.
Well, that's actually a great way to end with our last 30 seconds is you don't have to look at Parkinson's as the end, right? There's so many things out there. We've now talked about DBS, focused ultrasound, medication, exercise, other therapies that are out there. Educate yourself, learn from others, talk to others, and see what's best for you. As always, consult with your doctor. But thanks again for tuning in.